What if the fairy tale didn't really end? It just paused. What if the love that once changed to lives never truly disappeared, but waited quietly for the right moment to return? Years ago, the story of Vivian and Edward felt like a dream the world wanted to believe in. Two people from very different lives met by chance, broke every rule, and chose love when no one expected it. The ending felt perfect, hopeful, and complete. But real life does not stop when the screen fades to black. Time moves forward, people change, and choices leave marks that never fully disappear. That is where this story begins again. Pretty Woman 2. A second chance is not about repeating the magic of the past. It is about facing it. The trailer makes one thing clear from the start. This is not a fantasy romance. This is a story about time, memory, and the weight of decisions made years ago. The smiles are softer, the silence is heavier, and the emotions feel deeper because the characters are no longer young dreamers. They are adults who have lived, lost, and learned. The reason this sequel matters is simple. Millions of fans grew up with this love story. They are no longer the same people they were when they first watched it. Life has tested them too. This film speaks directly to that audience, the ones who know that love is not just about big moments, but about what happens after them. It asks a question that feels personal. Can love survive distance, pride, and time? The trailer does not rush. It lets moments breathe. A look that lasts a second too long. A pause before a word is spoken. These small details tell us that this story is about what was left unsaid. It is about two people who once believed love could fix everything, now wondering if it can still heal what time has broken. This sequel is not trying to replace the original ending. It is trying to understand it. It explores what happens when a perfect moment meets real life. That is why it feels necessary now. Not because fans asked for more romance, but because they are ready for more truth. Time has changed everything, and that is the heart of this chapter. Vivian is no longer the young woman searching for direction. Life after the fairy tale shaped her in ways no one could see back then. The trailer hints that she built a life of her own, one based on strength, independence, and hard-earned self-worth. She learned how to stand without being rescued, how to make choices without asking permission, and how to live with the memory of a love that once felt larger than the world. Vivian's eyes in the trailer tell a quiet story. They hold confidence, but also caution. She is someone who has been hurt, healed, and learned not to open her heart too easily again. Edward, on the other hand, looks like a man who has everything except the one thing he never replaced. Success followed him, just as it always did. The suits are sharper, the world still bends to his name, but something inside him feels unfinished. The trailer shows him moving through his life with control and calm, yet there is a sense of emotional distance that never fully leaves him. Edward seems like a man who won the game, but lost the moment that mattered most. His silence feels heavy, as if he has spent years thinking about the road not taken. What makes their reunion powerful is not passion, but restraint. When they see each other again, there is no rush toward romance. There is hesitation. There is surprise mixed with familiarity. These are two people who know each other deeply, yet are also strangers now. The years between them are filled with questions neither of them knows how to ask out loud. Did they make the right choice back then? Was love enough? Or was timing the real problem? Vivian appears grounded, careful, and emotionally aware. Edward appears reflective, almost guarded, as if he knows reopening the past could change everything he built. The balance between them has shifted. Vivian no longer needs saving. Edward no longer believes money can solve what is broken. That shift creates tension that feels real and honest. Their story now is not about fantasy. It is about accountability, about facing the consequences of walking away, even when love was real. The trailer suggests that both characters carry regret, but also growth. They are not trying to go back in time. They are trying to understand if the people they have become can still meet in the middle. This chapter of their lives is quiet, emotional, and deeply human. It shows that love does not disappear just because people change. Sometimes it waits, shaped by time, asking one final question. Are they brave enough to try again, knowing this time there are no fairy tales left to hide behind? This trailer does something very smart. It does not explain the story. It lets the audience feel it. Every scene shown is slow, controlled, and carefully chosen to suggest emotion instead of spelling it out. The first thing that stands out is how much silence is used. There are moments where no one is speaking, yet the weight of the scene feels heavy. This silence is not empty. It is full of history, memory, and things that were never resolved. One of the most powerful moments in the trailer is the first time Vivian and Edward appear in the same space again. The camera does not rush toward them. It stays back, letting the distance between them exist. This choice matters. It visually shows how much time and life now stand between them. Their body language tells the real story. Vivian stands steady, calm, almost guarded. Edward looks unsure, like someone who rehearsed this moment in his mind 1,000 times but still feels unprepared. No dramatic music swells. No big reaction. Just two people realizing the past is suddenly standing right in front of them. The trailer also uses familiar places in subtle ways. Locations that feel expensive, quiet, and distant reflect Edward's world, while warmer, more grounded spaces seem tied to Vivian. This contrast shows how different their lives became. Even without words, the audience understands they took separate paths that shaped them in opposite ways. These visuals quietly replace long explanations and make the emotions feel natural. Music plays a key role, but it is softer and more reflective than expected. Instead of a loud romantic theme, the score feels almost fragile. It rises slowly, then pulls back, just like the emotions in the story. This tells us the film is not pushing toward instant romance. It is building toward understanding. The music supports the idea that love here is careful, not reckless. Another important detail is how often the trailer shows moments of hesitation. A hand almost reaching out, then stopping. A look that lingers a second too long. A conversation that feels like it could turn emotional, but doesn't. These pauses are intentional. They show that both characters are afraid of opening doors they once closed. The trailer understands that fear can be just as powerful as love. There are also quick flashes of their separate lives. Vivian interacting with people who seem to respect her independence. Edward alone in large, quiet spaces that feel impressive but empty. These images tell us that both characters moved forward, but not in the same way. Vivian seems emotionally present. Edward seems emotionally distant. This difference adds tension without needing conflict or drama. What makes these trailer moments strong is their honesty. Nothing feels exaggerated. Nothing feels forced. The film trusts the audience to connect the dots. It invites viewers to reflect on their own past choices, missed chances, and unresolved feelings. The trailer does not promise a perfect ending. It promises a meaningful journey. This section of the story is about atmosphere, emotion, and restraint. It shows that the heart of this film is not grand romance, but quiet truth. Love that has aged. Love that has been tested. Love that now must decide whether it is strong enough to exist in reality, not fantasy. This part of the story makes it clear that love alone is no longer enough. The biggest conflict in this chapter is not outside pressure, but what both characters carry inside. Time has given them experience, but it has also given them fear. The trailer suggests that Vivian and Edward are no longer fighting the world. They are fighting their own doubts, memories, and emotional limits. Vivian's conflict feels rooted in protection. She has built a life where she answers to herself. She learned how to survive without promises, without grand gestures, and without relying on someone else to define her future. Opening her heart again would mean risking everything she worked to become. The past taught her that love can be beautiful, but also unstable. The idea of returning to something that once broke her balance is terrifying. Even if the feelings are still there, trust is not automatic anymore. Edward's conflict is different, but just as heavy. He is a man who spent his life controlling outcomes. Business, success, structure, and rules made sense to him. Love did not. Losing Vivian forced him to face something he could not buy or fix. The trailer shows him as someone who has achieved everything society values, yet still feels emotionally incomplete. His struggle is not about whether he loves her. It is about whether he knows how to love her the right way now. There is also the unspoken conflict of missed years. Time is not neutral in this story. It stands between them like a third character. Every year they spend apart carries weight. Birthdays missed. Moments lived separately. Versions of themselves the other never got to know. These gaps create tension that no apology can erase. Even if they choose each other again, they cannot undo what was lost. The trailer hints that external pressures may exist, but they are not the focus. Careers, responsibilities, and social expectations quietly surround them, yet never overpower the emotional core. This choice makes the stakes feel more personal. The risk is not scandal or failure. The risk is regret. The risk is reopening a chapter that could either heal them or leave them with deeper wounds. Another important conflict is the imbalance of readiness. Vivian seems emotionally prepared but cautious. Edward seems emotionally exposed but uncertain. This difference creates moments where one leans in while the other steps back. The trailer shows that timing, once again, may not be on their side. Not because life is cruel, but because growth does not always happen at the same pace. This section of the story reminds the audience that second chances are not simple gifts. They come with conditions. They demand honesty, vulnerability, and accountability. Both characters must face who they were, who they are now, and whether those two versions can coexist. The film does not promise that love will fix everything. It asks whether they are willing to do the hard work love now requires. The emotional stakes are clear. If they walk away again, it may be final. If they say, nothing will be easy. This is not a story about chasing happiness. It is about choosing truth, even when it hurts. A second chance sounds simple, but this story shows how heavy those words truly are. It is not about going back to the moment where everything felt perfect. It is about standing in the present and deciding whether the past still deserves space in your future. For Vivian and Edward, a second chance is not a promise of happiness. It is a question that demands honesty. The trailer makes it clear that both characters understand the cost of trying again. Love, once lost, does not return the same way. It comes with memory, caution, and fear. Vivian knows what it feels like to trust completely and then walk away. She knows the strength it took to rebuild herself without leaning on someone else. Choosing to try again would mean lowering the walls she spent years building. That is not weakness. It is courage shaped by experience. For Edward, a second chance represents something he never allowed himself before: surrender. He is no longer the man who believes control is safety. The trailer suggests that he has learned how empty success can feel when there is no one to share it with. But understanding that truth does not mean he knows how to act on it. Loving again means accepting uncertainty, and that is unfamiliar territory for him. The meaning of a second chance here is deeply emotional. It is about forgiveness, not just of each other, but of themselves. Both characters must forgive their younger selves for choices made with limited understanding. They must accept that they did what they could at the time, even if it led to regret. Without that self-forgiveness, moving forward is impossible. This story also challenges the idea that love should always be effortless. The original fairy tale suggested that love arrives, changes everything, and solves the problem. This sequel questions that belief. It suggests that real love often arrives quietly, asking for patience instead of passion. It asks for effort instead of escape. It grows not from fantasy, but from truth. The trailer hints that the second chance offered here may not look like what audiences expect. It may not be dramatic. It may not end with grand declarations. Instead, it may be built on small choices. Choosing to listen, choosing to stay, choosing honesty over comfort. These moments are not cinematic in the traditional sense, but they are deeply human. There is also the reality of time. A second chance does not erase the years lived apart. It must exist alongside them. Vivian and Edward are not starting over. They are continuing from a place shaped by everything they have been through. This makes the decision to try again heavier, but also more meaningful. At its core, this section of the story reminds the audience that second chances are rare, and they do not come when life is simple. They come when life is complicated, when hearts are guarded, and when the risk feels real. That is what makes them powerful. Not because they guarantee happiness, but because they offer the possibility of truth, connection, and peace. This is not a story about fixing the past. It is about honoring it, learning from it, and deciding whether love still has a future worth fighting for. This part of the story speaks directly to the audience who carried this love story for decades. Many fans return to this sequel with hope, nostalgia, and a desire to feel the same magic they once felt. The trailer understands that expectation, but it also gently pushes back against it. It does not promise a repeat of the past. It promises honesty. And that difference matters. The original story lived in a time where romance often ended with certainty. Love was bold, visible, and uncomplicated. This sequel arrives in a world that understands love differently. Audiences today know that feelings do not always solve problems and that endings are rarely perfect. The trailer seems aware of this shift. It invites viewers to grow with the characters instead of asking them to relive the same fantasy. Many fans may expect grand romantic gestures, dramatic reunions, and emotional speeches. Instead, the trailer offers restraint. It offers quiet conversations, thoughtful pauses, and emotional distance that feels real. This may surprise some viewers, but it is intentional. The film is not trying to recreate a moment in time. It is trying to reflect what time does to people. There is also the fear many fans carry when it comes to sequels. The fear of disappointment. The fear that revisiting something beloved might weaken its memory. This story seems to understand that risk. Rather than overwrite the original ending, it builds around it. It treats the past with respect, not revision. That approach allows the sequel to exist without erasing what came before. Another expectation the film challenges is the idea of closure. Some fans want clear answers. Did they end up together? Did love win? This sequel suggests that closure is not always clean. Sometimes it is emotional, personal, and quiet. It happens inside people, not in public declarations. The trailer leans into that truth, even if it means leaving some questions open. The emotional reality of this film is that love, especially later in life, comes with caution. The characters are no longer chasing excitement. They are seeking peace. That shift may feel unfamiliar to some viewers, but it reflects the reality many have lived. The film speaks to an audience that has experienced heartbreak, growth, and reflection. This section also highlights how the sequel invites empathy rather than fantasy. It asks the audience to understand both characters without choosing sides. Vivian's independence is not a rejection of love. Edward's hesitation is not a lack of feeling. Both are responses to experience. The film does not judge them. It listens. By challenging expectations, the story creates something more meaningful than simple nostalgia. It creates connection. It reminds viewers that love stories do not end when youth fades. They evolve. They become quieter, deeper, and sometimes more painful, but also more honest. In the end, this section prepares the audience for what this film truly is. Not a replay of a dream, but a reflection of life. And for many fans, that may be exactly the story they need now. This final chapter brings everything together and explains why this story feels necessary at this moment in time. This is not just a sequel made for nostalgia. It is a story created for an audience that has lived life alongside these characters. The years that passed on screen also passed in the real world. People grew older, relationships changed, and perspectives shifted. This film meets the audience where they are now, not where they used to be. What makes this story powerful is its timing. In a world full of fast romance, instant connections, and short attention spans, this film slows everything down. It reminds viewers that love is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, patient, and deeply emotional. The trailer suggests a story that values reflection over excitement and meaning over fantasy. That choice feels bold and honest, but the story also speaks to something many people rarely see represented on screen. Love after youth. Love shaped by experience. Love that carries history. Vivian and Edward are no longer learning who they are. They are learning how to live with who they have become. That shift makes their choices heavier and more real. It reflects a stage of life where decisions are no longer about discovery, but about truth. Another reason this story matters now is its emotional maturity. It does not suggest that love fixes everything. It does not promise a perfect ending. Instead, it asks a deeper question. Is love still worth choosing when it comes with risk, memory, and fear? That question resonates strongly in a time when many people struggle with trust, vulnerability, and emotional fatigue. The film also challenges the idea that some stories should never be revisited. It shows that returning to the past does not always mean undoing it. Sometimes it means understanding it better. This sequel does not rewrite history. It reflects on it. It allows space for growth, regret, and forgiveness without taking away the magic of what once was. For longtime fans, this story offers something rare. Not answers, but understanding. It validates the feeling that love can be real, meaningful, and still incomplete. It respects the audience's intelligence and emotional experience. It does not tell them what to feel. It invites them to reflect. As the story comes to a close, the message becomes clear.